She looked like a dream Hollywood invented. But dreams have contracts, and hers came with a price. They called her the Sweater Girl, the face of MGM perfection. Behind that polished surface, something far more fragile was breaking. In an era when the studio system ruled every heartbeat, Lana Turner lived two lives. On screen, she was seduction sculpted in light. Off-screen, she was a woman haunted by bad love, relentless press, and the cruel symmetry of fate. Her story would spill from movie sets into courtrooms, tabloids, and whispered legend. How could a woman so adored become the center of Hollywood's darkest tragedy? Stay to the end, because the truth about Lana Turner is nothing like the scripts she was given. She wasn't supposed to be a legend. She was supposed to be invisible, a small-town girl from Wallace, Idaho, born in 1921 to a working-class family just trying to survive the Depression. Her father, John Turner, worked in the mines and played cards for extra money. When he was murdered, reportedly after a dice game went wrong, Lana was 9. His body was found in an alley, his pockets turned inside out, his shoes missing. For a child, it was an incomprehensible rupture and a wound she'd spend her life trying to outshine. Her mother, Mildred, packed up what little they owned and moved them to California, chasing work, chasing light. Fate has strange timing. One day in 1936, 16-year-old Lana skipped class to buy a Coca-Cola at the Top Hat Cafe on Sunset Boulevard. A magazine publisher named W.R. Wilkerson noticed her, struck by her beauty, and told her to visit the Zeppo Marx talent agency. Within weeks, she had a screen test. Warner Brothers signed her for a single picture. But when Louis B. Mayer's empire at MGM saw her potential, she was reborn not as a girl, but as a product. The transformation was immediate and deliberate. Blonde hair, flawless makeup, every gesture rehearsed. Hollywood called it discovery, but what it really meant was ownership. At MGM, Lana Turner became a symbol before she became a person. Her breakout came in They Won't Forget, 1937, a courtroom drama where she had only a few minutes of screen time. Yet that single scene walking down a street in a tight sweater ignited an obsession. Overnight, the Sweater Girl was born. It was marketing genius and a curse that would follow her for decades. The studio's publicity machine spun her as innocence and temptation fused into one body. Every man's dream, one headline read. But beneath the fan mail and photo shoots, the 16-year-old struggled with insecurity and loneliness. By 1940, she was a bona fide MGM star. Ziegfeld Girl, 1941. Johnny Eager, 1942. Opposite Robert Taylor. And Slightly Dangerous, 1943, showcased her as both glamorous and vulnerable. The war years cemented her as the soldier's pin-up queen, her face printed on barracks walls across the world. Yet even then, the studio controlled every move. Mayer's team dictated her diet, her dating life, her interviews. If she wanted to marry, she had to ask permission. "We were property," she later said. "You belong to them, body and soul." The tension between persona and person grew sharper with each film. In The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1946, she was electric, her white shorts and platinum hair redefining post-war sexuality. Audiences saw danger and desire. Censors saw scandal. Critics, however, saw what few expected: real acting power beneath the polish. But fame is fickle. MGM wanted the illusion of control, not the truth of complexity. And Lana's private life was already slipping out of their script. Her relationships became tabloid currency. She married bandleader Artie Shaw in 1940 on a whim after a 2-week romance, only to be divorced within months. She then married restaurateur Steve Crane, divorced, then remarried him briefly. Their daughter Cheryl was born in 1943. For the first time, Lana felt something grounding, but the press labeled her Hollywood's love addict, a woman incapable of being alone. Each headline chipped away at her image, and each heartbreak drove her further toward men who seemed to promise protection but delivered pain. The late 1940s brought professional highs but personal chaos. She appeared in Green Dolphin Street, 1947, and The Three Musketeers, 1948, commanding salaries few actresses could touch. Yet MGM insiders recalled her frequent absences and mood swings, chalked up to exhaustion or heartbreak. She reportedly fainted on set more than once. In her memoir, she later admitted she lived in fear of disappointing everyone. That fear led to heavy drinking and a search for affection in all the wrong places. Then came Johnny Stompanato, a name that would forever alter her legend. He was a former U.S. Marine turned bodyguard for gangster Mickey Cohen, part of the Los Angeles underworld. When he met Lana in 1957, she was nearing 40, recently divorced, and longing for stability. He was charming, attentive, dangerously handsome. To the public, it looked like passion. To friends, it looked like trouble. Within months, the relationship turned volatile. Reports from those close to her described violent arguments, jealousy, and Stompanato's attempts to control her career. Studio executives urged her to end it. He refused to let go. Hollywood's golden age had weathered scandals before, but none like what was about to unfold. On April 4th, 1958, Lana was at her Beverly Hills home with Cheryl, then 14. The argument that night was loud enough for neighbors to hear. According to later testimony, Stompanato threatened Lana, shouting obscenities, calling her names. Terrified, Cheryl ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and rushed into the bedroom. She reportedly told him to stop hurting her mother. Moments later, Stompanato collapsed, a single stab wound to the chest. The aftermath was chaos. Police arrived to a scene that defied belief: a dead gangster, a hysterical movie star, and a child in shock. The next morning, every newspaper in America carried Lana Turner's name beside the words murder and Hollywood scandal. The coroner's inquest became a media circus. Lana took the stand, trembling but composed, her tears captured by live television. She described months of abuse, fear, and manipulation. The jury ruled it justifiable homicide, declaring Cheryl had acted in defense of her mother. The verdict freed them, but not from judgment. The incident reshaped her life. MGM's publicity department, desperate to salvage their star, reframed the narrative as one of maternal courage and tragedy. Ironically, audiences responded with sympathy. Lana's vulnerability made her more human than ever. When she returned to the screen in Imitation of Life, 1959, the parallels were striking: a mother torn between career and child, love and loss. The film became a box office triumph, earning her an Academy Award nomination. Critics called it her finest work, not realizing how much of herself she was reliving. Every tear in that movie, she later said, was real. But fame has a cruel echo. Even as her career rebounded, her personal life remained unstable. She married Fred May, a rancher, then actor Lex Barker, known for playing Tarzan, who reportedly treated Cheryl harshly. Years later, Cheryl alleged that Barker had assaulted her during that marriage, an accusation that shattered Lana when she learned of it. She divorced Barker immediately. The cycle of glamour and grief continued. Success on camera, devastation off it. Through the 1960s, Lana fought to stay relevant as Hollywood shifted. The old studio system that had once owned her was dying. Television and youth culture were rewriting the rules. She appeared in Madam X, 1966, a melodrama that mirrored her own penance: another mother suffering in silence. Critics were divided, but fans adored her. She began touring in theater, embracing stage work as a way to control her image again. Yet the constant reinvention came with cost. Financial strain, health problems, and relentless scrutiny. She remarried again and divorced again. By some counts, 8 marriages in total, each one ending in betrayal or distance. "I was always chasing love," she once told a friend, "but maybe what I really wanted was peace." In private, she turned to spirituality and writing, seeking to understand her own patterns. Her 1982 autobiography, Lana, the Lady, the Legend, the Truth, was both confession and reclamation. It sold millions, reigniting interest in her life story, though critics questioned how much truth Hollywood would ever allow her to tell. When she joined the cast of Falcon Crest in 1982, younger viewers saw her as a relic of glamour, an echo from a lost era. But for Lana, it was one more act of survival. Beneath the diamonds and hairspray was a woman who had learned to perform strength. Crew members later said she was gracious but distant, professional to the point of obsession. "She never stopped acting," one co-star said, even when the cameras weren't rolling. In the late 1980s, Lana Turner faced the greatest battle of all: her health. Years of smoking caught up with her, and she was diagnosed with throat cancer. She reportedly refused pity, undergoing treatment quietly and continuing to appear at charity events. She had become, in her own way, a monument, a reminder of what Hollywood once demanded and what it took. Cheryl stood by her side through those final years. Their relationship, once defined by tragedy, evolved into forgiveness. "We were survivors," Cheryl said later. "We went through hell, but we came out loving each other." Lana died on June 29, 1995, in her Los Angeles home, surrounded by memories that felt more like ghosts. She was 74. The obituaries were reverent, almost apologetic. Critics who once dismissed her as a studio creation now called her a symbol of endurance. The Academy paid tribute. Old co-stars remembered her generosity and her humor, and fans decades later still wrote letters thanking her for teaching them that beauty could coexist with pain. And yet, in the years since her death, Lana's image hasn't faded, it's evolved. Film historians now see her not just as a star, but as one of the first women in Hollywood to publicly survive scandal and reclaim control of her story. The Stompanato tragedy, once treated as gossip, is now studied as a moment that cracked the facade of studio-era myth-making. In documentaries, you can still hear her soft, deliberate voice describing a life that taught me how to fall and rise again. And you realize she wasn't acting anymore, she was remembering. Looking back, her life reads like a morality play written by the industry itself. Lana Turner was the embodiment of Hollywood's contradictions. The dream girl who never stopped paying for the dream. Every headline that once condemned her now feels like evidence of the world she survived, a world that punished women for being both desired and human. She lived long enough to see the myth dissolve into memory. But the woman behind that myth, the daughter of a murdered father and a relentless mother, never truly stopped fighting. Maybe that's why she endures. Because when you strip away the diamonds, the gowns, the gossip, what remains is the pulse of someone who refused to disappear. She turned scandal into survival, pain into performance, and tragedy into legacy. Her story reminds you that fame isn't a prize, it's a mirror. It reflects everything you wish for and everything you can't escape. Lana Turner's reflection still flickers across old film reels, her eyes full of secrets the studio never scripted. Stay to the end, because the truth about Hollywood's icons isn't how they lived in front of the camera. It's how they kept breathing when the lights went out. If stories like this remind you that glamour always hides a cost, subscribe and stay with us. Because behind every perfect frame of the golden age, there's a heartbeat the world tried to forget, but never could.